You'll have to talk to him directly somehow.
I'll tell Selena. Otherwise, we can start and then he can be alive.
Yeah, we are live.
Okay, so do I start talking?
Oh, Tony has sent a chat message.
Roger, we are live.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the India Licensing Virtual Expo Conference session entitled Asia, the Epicenter of New Growth. My name is Roger Berman, President of ZenWorks, a licensing consultancy and agency based in Tokyo, but operating globally. It's my pleasure to be today's moderator. It's also an honor to have some great panelists today, all experts in their respective fields. If you have any questions, and if you're using the platform, could you drop them into the chat window, and we will look at your questions afterwards. First, over to you, Charles. Could you just give a brief introduction on yourself?
So I'm Charles To, a partner of Ella Allen, a Hong Kong law firm, and I head up the corporate commercial practice. I'm specializing in technology and licensing. And I was previously senior legal counsel for Tencent and Fox Networks.
Great, thank you very much. And Harry?
Yes. I'm Harry Yoon, and I'm VP of Studio Mokoji, which is a Korean animation studio. I've been in the overseas marketing 20 plus years, and also licensing and merchandising. And I'm happy to be joining this session. Thank you.
Great. And then next we move to Kaori.
I'm working for CAGBG, which is a global licensing agency. And I work, which has 25 different offices. And I work for the Japan office ever since its establishment in 20 years ago. And we operate and handle various brands, such as Mercedes-Benz, Playboy, Coca-Cola, and also characters such as Peanuts, Netflix, Sony Pictures movies, so and so on. So I'm looking forward to sharing more detail to you later in this session. Thank you. Thanks.
And we have one more person, Tony Zhu from Vipo Global in China, but he's apparently having some connection problems. So hopefully we can bring Tony into the conversation a little bit later. Just maybe I'll give a quick plug about myself. I've been in Japan for 35 odd years. I've been in the licensing industry for as long a time. My company is a consulting agency, working with clients such as Kikoman, Soy Sauce, TV Tokyo Communications, Lemon Sky Animation in Malaysia. Essentially, I help companies monetize their IP globally. Anyway, so looks like we're starting without Tony, so gremlins aside. So thank you, everyone. So to kick off with some background on the session today, according to the 2020 Global Licensing Industry Study from Licensing International, the trade body, worldwide sales revenue generated by licensing grew to nearly $290 billion in 2019. That's a 4.5% increase over the previous year. North and South Asia and the Pacific together accounted for about 11.3% share, totaling about $39.4 billion. The study cited the Asia region as a big growth factor, but let me quote from the survey. The study, growth here was primarily driven by strong licensing expansion in order of magnitude in India, Brazil, China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Colombia, and Peru. So 2/3 of those countries are in Asia, and I'm very happy to tell you today that India was #1 on that list. It's not bad. Of course, these are all pre-COVID-19 figures. The coronavirus has impacted us personally and professionally in so many ways, and it remains to be seen how the industry will look in the future. However, licensing is a resilient, flexible, and forward-looking business. For example, now we're seeing an even faster shift to e-commerce from physical retail, a trend that had actually started a few years ago with the emergence and overtaking the industry by Amazon. And also people now getting used to, as people get used to working from home, we're also seeing increasing sales of categories which have been fairly quiet up to now, including outdoor and sporting goods, toys and games, gardening items, home interior, and baking goods. So I'm going to ask our speakers in a minute to just give us their thoughts on how COVID-19 has affected their markets and what is the outlook. And now we have Tony. Tony, are you there? Are you with us?
Yes, I'm already here for just when you
Okay.
begin, I'm already here. I don't know why you cannot see me. Yeah.
Okay, Tony, welcome to the session. Give a very brief introduction about yourself, and then please let us know how COVID-19 has affected China markets in terms of your business, okay?
Okay, my name is Tony. I'm the founder of Vipo Global Limited. We are licensee of many international brands, including from preschool brands like Peppa Pig, PJ Masks, Paw Patrol, My Little Pony, and now lifestyle brand including Moomin, Snoopy, The Little Prince. The influence of Corona-19 is really huge for China market as globally, but science, the control is very well. So we have a remarkable recovery during the past 2 months, 2-3 months, especially on the offline market. For the online, as globally is increasing, but offline, it depends on which kind of products. So we can talk in detail when I talk more. Okay.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Calorie, how are things been going on in our home country of Japan?
Yes, of course, same as the other countries, business is slow and in suffering, especially the retailer and apparel industry, which is a huge impact on our licensing business as well. But as Roger mentioned earlier, online shopping is increasing. So the company who has a real retail store on the street is suffering very much. But if they have an online shop as well, then the online sales is covered for the less sales of the actual shop. So they are lucky enough to survive. And also the online shopping is increasing. So especially the like foods and drinks and also like sanitation goods because of this. So there is the good industry and bad industry. But also because people stay home, there is people look around your home more. So there's like furnitures or like cosmetics or gymnastic, and those materials we use when you're staying home is actually increasing, as well as the streaming channels and the gaming. Again, people stay home and do nothing, nothing to do and cannot go outside. So they, watch TVs or do the games. So there are a positive side of that.
Okay.
If you look
Great. Well, thank you. Harry, Korea's been very much complimented internationally on its handling of the coronavirus. How is licensing done there?
Yes, that's why I survived here, thanks to my government. And at the early months of this year, when the corona break out and all the economy just stopped, like other countries, also in Korea. But focusing on the licensing for the kids, that was made a success comparing with last year, because kids stay home, do not go to school, just to watch TV and mostly animation. So the kids are familiar now, exposure to the characters. And to the licensee's point, at first they were afraid to do a more licensing deals. But 3 months ago, government had a stimulus check to boom the local economy. So due to the check, kids can have the toy they wanted. So not all the categories, but toy and stationery goods, they made a good success, good sales during the first half of this year. But stimulus checks are done, so we are waiting for the second stimulus check by the government. Maybe they can stimulate the local industry, mainly for the. And besides that, all economies are slow or even stopped.
Right.
And to the licensee's point, they are afraid to invest early because nothing is sure for coming years. So
Right.
because of their standard, so it's very hard for the licensors to cut a deal with big licensees.
Right. Okay.
So
Thanks. So, some bright spots there, especially with toy licensees running out of stock. An enviable situation to be in. Charles, I know you come from looking at things always from a legal standpoint, but how have can you offer some thoughts on how the situation's been in Hong Kong for licensees or licensors?
I think echoing what other speakers have mentioned, people actually consume more content now because people are forced to stay home. Mm-hmm. And there is actually a need for content and therefore licensing. But things we've been seeing is licensees are now tend to be more conservative in the license fees and license fee structures. So possibly a much lower license fee or a more revenue sharing basis.
Right,
but
right.
A lot of companies, I mean, they do need to plan, and it's not like everything is stopped because you do need to plan for the future. And it seems like COVID is here to stay for at least for a year or two. And it's not something that would be resolved in the next couple of months. So businesses have to make plans for that. And so we do see deals going on, but often it's a lot more conservative on the commercial approaches.
Right. As a lawyer, have you seen a lot of your clients asking you about this clause, force majeure, regarding unprecedented events in contracts?
We actually early this year, we actually wrote an article on force majeure. And I mean, looking at agreements, most of them, it's be extremely difficult to invoke the force majeure clause unless it's specifically stated pandemic.
Right.
There are agreements now which are newly signed where it does specifically mention COVID-19.
Right.
But those are rare, and I would say it's the exception rather than the norm.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So moving on to our subtopics, I'm actually going to kick off with Charles. Would you care to share with the audience your thoughts on legal and IP concerns in Asian markets, please? Just could you talk for a few minutes?
Yeah, sure. I mean, starting off with, let's say, China being one of the largest markets in Asia and possibly the world, I have to say it has come a long way in terms of IP protection. So if you went back 10 years, 20 years, it was the common view that intellectual property was not protected in mainland China, especially if you were not a domestic company. Your IP would just not be protected at all. But now it has come a long way, and from handling work for clients and even seeing the recent court judgments, the courts now in China are taking a much friendly approach towards foreign brand owners. So as a few example, there was a high-profile case between New Balance and a PRC company called Xinbalun, which is a transliteration of New Balance. And initially, in China, at the first hearing, it was said that New Balance was an infringement of the logo brand. Mm-hmm. And after appeal now, the PRC company has been ordered to pay damages to New Balance. And similarly, there was a case of Michael Jordan versus Qiao Dan, which is the known Chinese name of Michael Jordan. And similarly, there was a dispute as to whether this brand was infringing Michael Jordan's intellectual property. And so the court at the end held that Michael Jordan has rights in China. So you could see that the views and the stance of PRC courts have been changing.
Right.
To
what was there anything specific which brought around, because a number of years ago we would not have seen that, I think. Was there anything which brought around like that sort of sea change, which kind
I
of...
would say it's multiple factors, but one of them is obviously there are some politics involved between US and China, but even putting that aside, being a individual in mainland China now, the ordinary citizen is a lot more likely to be aware of intellectual property protection, whereas 20 years ago, people might not even know what it is. So similarly, the courts are more likely to uphold it. And obviously, because of the past developments in China, Chinese companies actually own a lot of intellectual property as well. And therefore, the courts now are more inclined to uphold protection for IP.
Right.
And I think on that note, it's actually very important, whether you're a domestic company or a foreign brand, to have the relevant registrations in place in China. Because whether you're doing enforcement work or even if you want to open a shop on the e-commerce sites like Taobao, owned by Alibaba, often to show that you have the rights of the brand, you actually need to show that you have the local registration in China in terms of trademark and in copyright. Although copyright's not strictly required, a lot of the offices would ask you for a copy of the copyright registration before they would entertain any takedown request.
Right. Thank you. It's actually very interesting because I mean, I've worked with a number of Japanese licensors who have sold into China. Say, for example, if they wanted to sell licensed product into a department store, maybe Isetan in Shanghai or wherever, they had to show a copy of the trademark registration, all different kinds of paperwork, something which we wouldn't see in Japan. So in some ways, China is stricter than other markets when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah,
anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of that production of evidence, I mean, I was in-house with Tencent and with Fox before. So I've been on both sides of the receiving material and requesting material. You would see a lot of multinationals, even as big as this US studios. They would be, because the PRC policy is very strict that these companies put in place, so they would ask for evidence from, let's say, Fox, that you own the rights to a certain movie, despite that generally everyone in the world knows you own it, but they're not going to entertain that unless you give them a copyright certificate.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much. That's really useful insight from about the China market. Of course, China internationally in licensing, I think, is now might be the third. Is going to be, if it's not third, it will certainly be the second largest market worldwide. So hopefully that's a place India will be in a few years' time. So moving on to the Korean market, which has a reputation as being an innovator in the digital space. So Harry, the audience would like to hear your thoughts on if and how Korea has been cashing in on the digital boom.
Besides Korea, worldwide is already in transforming to a digitalized. Every content, all the content is digitalized. And traditionally, licensors promote their content through the limited channels like television and radios and etc. But recently, as you may be aware, that SNS and a lot of different platforms are more powerful even than the linear channels, class 1. And so because of the transformation of the platform and based on the digital transformation, which caused the licensing characters and others it's different from what it has been before. Usually it's animated characters. Now you can have SNS stars and or Webtoon. They were digitalized and the services through the Kakao and others, SNS, they are so huge, booming. So, and also bus, we have monitors at the bus and the subway, even elevator in the apartment. You can add, you can promote your content. So YouTube is a major one for the new media. And so back to the maybe 10 years ago, comparing with that, digital changed everything. So that also caused the licensing business in Korea mainly it used to be just for kids. But because of the new platform and the digital transformation, the age is expanded to 20s and 30s and the ladies. And that is good for the licensors and licensees in Korean market.
Right. That's very interesting. I especially, I mean, BTS made headlines the other day with the new single, the new song, which has received the most YouTube views ever. And of course, BTS have been active with Line to make that character. Was it BT21?
Yeah,
I think is the name of the character series based on the Line characters, and so it's very interesting to see the crossover, and really, you know, with Korea pushing things on the digital front.
Because I'm sorry, because as you mentioned, the Line Friends characters, and also Kakao Kids family friends, they are huge booms here, because that two characters accelerate, expand the licensees market, because young adults, they love that characters. Even my father, now getting 85, he has one of the icons of that Kakao friends.
I think that might be the takeaway comment from today. Harry's dad, who's 85, likes characters. Oh. Anyway, okay, thanks very much for that. Thanks very much for that insight. So now moving on to my home market. Behind me, you can see this is where is it? I can't get my finger the right way. Tokyo Tower in red behind me. Talking about Japan, Kaori, could you share with us some of your thoughts on what we've been asked to talk about, diversity of licensing in Japan?
Yes, okay. Japan is a quite unique market, as everybody knows, unique and different. So I will talk about the diversity of the licensing, and especially focusing on Japan. And as you know, in the licensing industry, there are character entertainment category and also the brand category. And in Japan, I don't know much about the other countries, but character entertainment is so strong. So about 70 to 75% of the business is still made by character entertainment, and the brands are only 20 to 25. And within this huge ratio of the character entertainment business, there are so many different characters and entertainment properties, from like a big name like Disney, Snoopy, Star Wars, Marvels, as well as in Japan, the character is so many, Japanese characters and TV animations such as Pokemon, One Piece, Doraemon, you name it. So it's a really competitive market. That's the first thing. And besides that, now, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of gaming character emerging now to Japan. So Fortnite, Minecraft, League of Legends, and of course, like Mario Brothers and Dragon Quest, the classic games, those property are getting more popular as well. On top of that, as Harry mentioned, the digital world is coming. So in the lines or mobile phone stickers, so those are like new, originated characters, and not coming from the TV or movie, but just the ordinary person can draw some icon and then put it on the mobile phone. And then this character becomes so popular and then becoming licensable properties. So that's is really happening. And I think it's quite unique for the Japanese market, because everybody use these stickers, not like Harry's father, but also older ages. in Japan from kids to senior persons. So and this unknown property is becoming so huge without any investment or anything. So that's really good for everyone because of the internet and digital world, value. So that's unique. And also in Japan, even character and entertainment, it's not for the kids, but the adult is having a lot of access to this character merchandising. So for example, like these game characters, there is a very high quality figures, which cost like $200 or $300, and adult male is collecting it, paying tons of the money to make, series of this collection. Or even where the t-shirts cost like $100, and then all the collaboration with the adult fashion street brands, they collaborate with the characters. So, not only kids, but also including adult market. I think that made our character licensing business even bigger.
Okay, great.
And also the collaboration, just on top of that, like a
Collaborations.
very super brand collaboration, like a Louis Vuitton / League of Legends. They made like a 10,000, 100,000 of the leather jacket or something. And also Adidas / Pokemon. Again, that's only target for adult, and Pokemon is a kids animation, but
Right.
and Hello Kitty with a coach. So the super brand also work with the characters to increase the adult market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think collaborations have very much, I mean, primarily a marketing objective collaboration, not necessarily want to make a lot of money out of, but it's a way of connecting with a consumer and providing a new type of cool, so to speak. Yes, right.
Global
Okay.
level.
Yeah, great.
And also in addition to the physical products, the service area is also increasing. That's also additional area. So the themed cafe, like Snoopy Cafe, or the escaping room, so experiential type of the service is also a new area of the licensing, which is getting very popular in Japan.
Right. Okay, that's it's all stuff I very much concur with, and yes, it's all true.
Yeah, should I talk about the brand a little bit?
Actually, I think we need to move on. We're a bit starting to get a bit pressed for time. Do we have Tony with us? Is Tony there? Not sure we have Tony with us right now, but I know, maybe Kaori, please can you talk about brands while we wait for Tony to come back?
Okay, just to give you like a brand has a lot of, again, different kinds, from car brand, food brand, fashion brand, of course, cosmetic brands. So many types of brand, and also those many different type of brand can license to many different various products. So I will give you the two examples if I have a time. One is the Mercedes-Benz, which is the very luxury car brand, but they are making a car, so they cannot making other product. That's why they do license, but they want to keep this high quality, nice Germany, European luxury image. So we license to the bicycle because that's very close to the car, the mobility and everything. So the car and luggage also have a wheels, and then strollers. And so those are very relative expansion of the brand from the car, but still keep the quality and image of the brand. That's very important to do the licensing for the brand. Unlike character, you can keep the character image and then don't have to worry about the brand is invisible. So you have to really careful about to keep the brand image. So that's the very high-end brand example. And also the Hershey's, I want to give you the Hershey example. Hershey is a chocolate brand, American chocolate brand, and the food brand. And then food and beverage area is also like very emerging and an increasing category in the licensing industry. And because Hershey is a chocolate brand, we can do any food or drink which is chocolate flavor. So we license.
You can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. because Hershey is a chocolate brand, so it has to be chocolate flavor. Well, you can add another flavor like green tea or strawberry or vanilla, but you have to have a chocolate as a chocolate brand. So we license to ice cream or cereals and cookies or pudding or dessert, chocolate cake. So those are all different area of the food licensing, which made so successful. And in addition to that, we also license to cosmetics and the gifts and apparel. So actually, the sales of the core chocolate business is less than licensing sales. So licensing, the whole revenue of the licensed product exceeds the core business, which is the beauty of the licensing. So licensing helps the core business and core brand from the, from the side to increase the brand image and also consumer touch point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks. That's very, very interesting insight from Carrie there. Well, we were going to ask if we can get Tony back before the session finishes. We'll be asking him to talk a little bit about the focus on China and the new lifestyle boom. But just what Tony, I think, was, if we can get him back, his company, Vipo Global, started out as primarily as a toy licensee, targeting preschool characters, targeting preschoolers using preschool characters. But more recently, his company took on the Moomins franchise, looking at more of an adult demographic and positioning his products in the lifestyle category. And if we get him back, we'll try and get him to share some of his comments on the sort of the lifestyle boom taking place in China right now. But I'd actually like to move on to some questions. I don't think we've had any questions in through the chat right now. So I'd just like to move over to, I've actually prepared some questions for the panelists here. Do any of you have any perception about India as a license, as a market, either for content, content consumption, or in terms of licensing, and how it is perceived in your own markets? Maybe can I start with Harry?
Right, my pleasure. I've been to India 3 times by myself, and the first impression was, wow, it's a huge market. I can feel it. When I touched down the airport, wow, that was a huge market. And the second question is, how can I get in here? Because India has a lot of languages, as authorized languages. So I sold a couple of animation series to India, and the dubbing was another issue to sell it, and that's the impression of what I had, and that's the experience I had. And for the licensing part, yes, there's more kids, so there is a market, but their expense to pay is very low. And so, yes, you can multiply the numbers of the population, even you said 1 cent, but you can be a millionaire. But again, the point is how. So my experience tells me that getting to India is finding a best partner. That was the decision I made, and still I believe that finding a best partner, do not try to get in by yourself instead.
Right. Well, I know that's a sentiment which works really in most markets, is to find a good partner you can work with, who you can trust, and you can build up a good relationship with. Charles, I mean, have you had any exposure to the Indian market at all through your work?
Yeah. I used to actually cover India when I was in-house as well.
Please tell us about it.
So I think I echo what you mentioned just now and what Harry mentioned, it's a big market, obviously, but it's also a very difficult market for a foreigner to just go in and operate. You do need local partners. And one thing I've seen in my previous roles and even with clients now, there's a large population, but the average income is still quite low. So how do you actually turn it into a business model? I mean, there's obviously a desire to consume licensed content, whether it's video or just general merchandise, but whether people are actually able to pay for it is a different matter. So I think creative business models have to be come up with the local partners.
Right. I was working with an educational services provider who have a very popular preschool animated character in Japan. And when we were looking at the Indian market, we were told it would need to be dubbed into about 6 or 7 local languages in order to, to penetrate all the major markets. Yeah. So, and of course, dubbing is quite a cost, and you can't get away with subtitles. So, which is the case with any preschool character, really.
But I think one thing to think about is not just licensing into India, but I think there is some aspects of where actually India could license content out, especially let's say in the area of Bollywood. It's actually a very popular genre globally.
Yes, very much so. And I think some of the exhibitors. I mean, I've only had a chance to have a short look around the exhibition hall, the virtual exhibition hall so far, and there are some interesting looking companies exhibiting, and hopefully, maybe there's some Bollywood in there, and I will get to see a little bit more. And I encourage all the audience and my fellow panelists to have a look around the exhibition itself.
Roger, if you don't mind, let me add one more, because I've been an agent for the Indian animation studio for the Korean market, and I introduced their IPs in the local channels and broadcasters and platforms. And generally, the first issue is the character, because the Indian kids, when you watch the movie or series, wow, that's from India.
Yeah.
So it may need time to penetrate the Indian content into Korean market and or other Asian territories. Yes, Bollywood is great, but that's for the adults. But for the kids industry, it may take time. It may take.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. That's interesting. I think, we've got experts here from Hong Kong, China mainland, Korea, and Japan. I think if some of the audience are thinking about entering overseas markets, how would they go about approaching that? If there was one piece of advice you could give, for example, each of you, maybe if you could, share your thoughts, maybe starting with Kaori. So if an Indian company was to wanted to enter into the Japanese market, what would be your piece of wise advice?
Finding a good agent like us.
or like ZenWorks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, no kidding, but I think it's important to have a very trusted partner in Japan, for each other, because it's totally different culture. You have to learn the market and what product is working, what's retailer, because everything is so different. I think I don't know much about India, but I heard India there's no like a retail store, but it's all online sales is kind of a dominate, so that itself is quite different, right? So I think to know about the market is very important when you go into like a Japanese market or any other market. And then in order to learn about the specific market, you have to definitely have a local person to give you advice.
Right. How about Korea? I mean, I know Korea is a population, 45, 50 million, Harry. and Korean content has always been very much focused globally, because just domestic market alone does not really pay the bills. And Korea has been hugely successful with the Korea wave. How about coming into the Korean market if you're an Indian animation company or some other kind of content holder? What would you recommend?
Yes, as Kaori said, finding a good agent, local partner, that's the first thing. But before you do that, you have to do some homework. Like, as you said, the Indian animation studio, if they have an animated series, you have to review the Korean TV channels and to see which one is the ranking #1 in Korean market, and to comparing with the character and story with Indian animated studios contents, then you can see the gap. You can see the not gap, see the difference in character and colors and the story and music. If you think that after that you still think you have a possibility, you have a potential in your contents, then you have to find the right partner.
Right.
And if you find the right partner, you have to ask, there is a lot of partners in Korean market. So to check whether the partner is reliable or not, you have to ask him to set up the meeting with the TV channel buyers and to get their direct feedbacks from the program buyers. Then you see the reality.
Right.
That's it.
Great, thank you very much. Charles, from a legal or maybe not necessarily legal standpoint, entering into the Chinese market, or maybe some other Southeast Asian markets.
Yeah,
where
I think I echo is very important. But basically, what Harry and Kaori said, it's first of all, assess the market, whether there even is a demand for whatever you're trying to bring into the local market. If after analysis, there's no demand, there's no point in going in. But from a legal standpoint, I would say one thing you should always do is register your trademark. It should be done actually way before you even plan to go into the market. Let's say there's many clients of ours where they're international brands. They might even just be operating in one other country. And by the time they go into China, they find that someone else has actually registered their trademark. Because there are a lot of squatters in China where all they do is go online and look for press releases, and if there's anything, they just go register it, and with the hope that when you actually go to China, they'll come and sell it to you, either for a relatively nominal price or extremely like in the millions. So spend the cost to register the trademark in China and in any major markets such as the US, Hong Kong, or other Southeast Asian countries. I think that's very critical.
That's advice I was hearing a lot, and I was giving a lot for many years. Register those trademarks. It's not a cost, it's an investment, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Tony, welcome back.
I always here. I don't know why I cannot join, but I'm always on the meeting. Yeah.
we thanks to Amblin Entertainment and Warner Brothers, we have some gremlins.
Thank you.
Gremlins are now gone. Tony, we're going to close out with you talking a little bit, just for about 2 or 3 minutes, about the lifestyle boom in China. I gave everyone a quick heads up on how you went from preschool properties into movements. Could you just give us some comments?
Yeah, sure. As I introduced a little earlier, preschool is where we start. We start with different preschool brand, mostly the hottest preschool brand at that time. But we find the preschool have a lot of limitation, no matter the year of the property, which is 1 year or 2 year hotter, and the limitation for the consumer, and also the limitation for the channels. But the lifestyle that many people hear, the lifestyle is a little bit something which is cannot really touch. But when I pay attention to moving that many years before, but finally we did it since 2018, and it's unbelievable. We do a surprising thing is, that compared to preschool, we need to find different customers, different wholesalers, different channels, and all the things that the different innovation for the products. But we think it is very worth to do that, because the trend for the brand, I believe in China, is more from that kids brand to the lifestyle brand, because lifestyle brand covers more age groups. For example, Moomin, many people think it's a toy when we make the light, but the audience, the main customer is not the kids. The kids can buy, but the Z generation, the 20s, 13s, 14s, even 15s, they still buy. And the channels we never into any toy shops. Even some buyers, they come to us, oh, it's lovely. I see that in the air shop, so we see that in some location. We want to buy that. I say, sorry, we don't position it as a toy. And we reject many requests from retailers to position it as a toy to the kids. This enable us to go to many channels, suitable channels. The channels in China for the lifestyle is maybe 5 times, 10 times even bigger than the toy channels, which is that we do not expect that. But during the past 1 year, we start from 3 shops, now maybe 300, 400 shops in China. That all that is in high end, not the people they buy, high end. The price is not that sensitive. They can buy a $10 toy, $20 toy, but our nightlight is, as you know, the price is $50, $200, $300. Yeah. So this is one side. And another side, we are taking more lifestyle brand, which suitable for our channels. Like early this year, we signed with Peanuts, with CAA, GBG, with Asian team.
That's Cow's
yes.
company.
Yes. I noticed that. Right. When they have sent the brand deck to me a couple of years before, but at that time we are more Peppa Pig business. But early this year, when they sent me the new brand deck, and I think it's time to do Snoopy, because as a brand that is 70 years, which can earn the heart of US market consumers and the Japanese market, I think that China, we can do well as well. Even that already some players in China, but I know how they operate. And I think there's a lot of potential needs for the Snoopy fans. The need of the Snoopy fans was not being fulfilled. So that we did really analyze what's the requirement and how they expect the market should have something which make them wow and make them as the fans as a gift to spread the products, to share the spirit of the brand. So this is what we learned from the transaction from preschool brand to the lifestyle brand. Also, another aiding is the Little Prince, which many people think is only a storybook. But do you know that the book is selling over 1 million books in China every year? And the new edition is increasing. Like this year, I see some new edition, 3 to 4 new books about the Little Prince in the market. If you collect, I think you can find about 50 versions in China bookshop for Little Prince only. Yeah. The story is brilliant. Yeah.
I think the book itself is actually in the public domain now. I know there's been a number of translations done in the Japanese market, and actually there's a little print. If you ever come to, if and when everyone is ever to start traveling again, you come to Japan, near Mount Fuji, Little Prince Museum.
Yeah.
So I think overrunning a little bit here, and it's time to close out the session. Just some quick 10-second final comments from each person. Charles.
I would say register and protect your IP.
Kauri.
No, I enjoy. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to working with Indian companies some days.
Harry.
Yes, we love to be in India.
Tony.
It's time to bring art to life, not only the toy. Thank you.
And Roger. I think I've talked enough. So if anyone would like to contact our panelists or myself, you can check out our bios on the conference website. Thank you, the audience, our panelists, and the organizer, License India, and stay safe, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.